What's the most embarrassing thing you did as a child? I purposefully peed my pants in the first grade because I was too embarrassed to ask to go to the bathroom. I did exactly the same thing in second grade. We have a fricked up idea of how embarrassing things are. I was a humper, and my parents never had the talk with me that such behavior was not appropriate in public. When I was 4, to the first black kid I met, who eventually became my best friend, I asked, "How did you get burned? You look like a burnt hot dog." Completely innocent. He shrugged and then we just became friends. It was only embarrassing when he asked his parents, in front of me, how he got burned. Dang. He got burned when some white kid asked him how he got burned. I showed my dong to my whole second grade class. And that was the last day of your teaching career. When I was about 5 or so, my younger brother was 2. Every time I played with his toys, my mom would tell me that I was too big for them. So the first time I saw an obese person sit on a chair that was too small for them, guess what I said? "You're too big to be sitting in that chair." When my cousin was small, my aunt, his mom, was trying to teach him manners. "Please, thank you, sorry, etc." So they were at the grocery store and he was trying to get around this woman. My aunt goes, "Say excuse me, big fat lady." I've got 2 words for you. Pool jets. So much shame. I saw my brother peeing standing up at the park. The whole way home, while crying, I screamed at the top of my lungs, "I want a willy." It was a very long walk home. I was 5 years old and we went to a farm for a field trip. It was a really big freaking deal for my classmates and I. My mom was one of the volunteers. We were in the petting zoo area, where there were rabbits, guinea pigs, chickens, etc. And I saw a little berry on the ground. I picked it up and was about to put it in my mouth when my mom ran over and slapped it out of my hands. She yelled, "That's poop," which drew the attention of everyone. I almost ate crap. Thank goodness my mom stopped me. I literally ate a piece of my own crap when I was like 4 because I thought it was a Hershey's Kiss that someone left lying on the floor. In first grade I once put my finger in the pencil sharpener and cranked the handle. Yes, I bled and screamed, and no, I can't fathom why I did it. Once in second grade my friend Jeremy accidentally cut himself with his scissors, and my kid brain must have been like, "Yeah, that looks like fun," cause the first thing I did was grab a pair of scissors and slice the crap out of my hand. Still got the scar. Teacher wasn't so happy. I did crap myself on accident, so teacher was checking everyone's pants since no one would admit it. On my turn I quietly whispered it was me. "I am so sorry," and she replied, "It is okay. I will get you a clean uniform to wear." Then I said, really embarrassed, "Everyone will notice I changed." No, they won't, and somehow they really didn't. What a good teacher. When I was 3 or 4 I drank the majority of a bottle of delicious strawberry cough mixture and had to have my stomach pumped. Kids like me are the reason that medicine is intentionally disgusting. I don't like you anymore. All the way up to the age of 11 my sister and I slept in bunk beds. Every night after dark we would take a particular stuffy, hold it in between our vags and butts and violently fart on it, sharing the stuffy and mixing our odors. I still get really embarrassed when I see the stuffed animal and we've both made a pact to never mention it to anyone. Kids are freaking weird. Broke the pact. My best friend in grade school and I used to howl Cookie Crisp across the playground to find each other when we were separated. Also, one time I read a book about school kids taking care of bags of flour as if they were babies. I thought it was a cool project, so I did it. I put a bag of flour in a onishi and carried it around school for a week. 5th grade was a hoot. When I was about 7, my friend and I were peeing in the bushes. I told him I could stick my pee-pee in his butt, then he could stick his in mine. He looked dubious and said, "Number." To this day, I have no idea why I thought it was a good idea. Kid had his crap straight from the get-go. My mom had a friend who was living with us after his long-term boyfriend broke up with him. My mom says that when the 3 of us were out together I'd go up to strange men and ask them if they wanted to be his boyfriend. Best little wingman ever. I don't remember this, but when I was little I would always take dishes and utensils from around the house and put them in the toilet. When my mom asked me what I was doing, I told her I was washing them. First day of Spanish in 2nd grade. The night before, my brother told me a Spanish phrase to tell my teacher. He said it would make me look smart. I ended up asking my teacher if my pants are still at her house. I have only recently reached a point in my life where I can share this with strangers and not burn with shame. It started young. I never liked the color purple. I wouldn't wear purple clothes, eat purple food. I didn't even like Barney the dinosaur. So for some reason or other, I get a set of crayons, the fancy Crayola kind, with sophisticated color names like Red Umber. I love those crayons, all except the purple one. I hated purple, so one day, my hatred of the purple crayon reaches breaking point. I decide I need to get rid of it, but I can't just throw it away. The purple crayon deserves so much worse than that. TL. Doctor, I stuck the purple crayon up my butt. I don't know how or why, but at the end of the second paragraph I didn't have to read further, I just knew you put it in your butt. In 2nd grade we played this fishing for words game. Only 5 were allowed to play at a time. When 3 more sat down I said, "You black kids can't play with us." One kid told the teacher I meant they can't play because they're black. I was just being descriptive and didn't know better. As punishment I had to stand on the top of my desk with my arms held out for the rest of the day, and we hadn't even gone to lunch yet. I was crying and very embarrassed. I didn't even get why I was in trouble until later. That sounds like a really fricked up punishment. I don't actually remember this one, but I'm told that when I was around potty training age, my family was having a large gathering at my grandmother's house. All of my cousins and I were playing in my grandmother's room and I had to poop. So being nearly potty trained, I did what any sensible 2-year-old would do and I skeezed one out on the carpet right in front of the door to the bedroom. When my cousins noticed, they started freaking out, and all the parents in the house came rushing to see what the problem was, and it so happened that my mother was the first one into the room and promptly slipped in my poop, followed by my uncle who also slipped in it. Also, I made a poop pie in the sandbox again at my grandmother's house, and then proceeded to smear it all over myself and the edges of the sandbox. My mother found me and hosed me off in the backyard, holding me by my ponytail, because that was the only part of me that was uncovered by poo. And I do remember this one. I was not a smart child. I get a feeling you got worse gifts from your grandmother than the rest of your family. In 3rd grade we would have reading time every day after lunch. The teacher would read one of her favorite books to us chapter by chapter. It was nice. Anyway, I was known for being a stinky chubby kid already, but this particular day I outdid myself. Halfway through our teacher excitedly reading BFG, I let out the rankest fart, a mixture of Satan's butthole and sulfur. Everyone heard it. Everyone definitely smelled it. As if God himself could add more insult. A small earthquake shook the room right as I stopped farted. Our teacher made everyone go outside, not because of the earthquake. It was only a tiny one, but because my fart smelled so bad that the teacher thought the classroom was uninhabitable whilst the fart smell lingered. I then started to cry because everyone was mad at me for ruining the BFG forever and just making it stink so bad. My 3rd grade class can confirm this. Wherever they are now, they still remind me of this story. I am known as the kid whose fart shook the whole world. I used to hump all my stuffed animals. When I was about 8, I went with my family to a Chinese restaurant for my great aunt's 80th birthday. When the waiter, an older Chinese man, came to take our order, I said, "I'll have the cleavage." Having heard that line in Spaceballs, I had no idea what it meant at the time, and my family gaped at me in stunned silence. Only when I was maybe 15 did I realize what I had done. When I was pretty young, since kindergarten to about grade 5, I was obsessed with having boobs. I'd figured out from an early age that boobs were instant sex appeal, but in my juvenile mind, it was just what boys ogled and girls envied. But my parents had a fascination with dressing me like a boy, and in an attempt to look more like a pretty, girly girl like my classmates, I hatched a brilliant plan to one-up them. I'd go to the bathroom once I was dropped off at school, roll up my undershirt to my chest and strut about like I had big old titties. I guess the role was supposed to be believable cleavage. Fool your depth perception. I don't exactly know. I tried everything. Bags of pudding, stealing my sister's cupped bras, even put a ruler in my shirt. I think my child mind told me any sort of volume no matter the shape, in that area meant boobs, and one day, my teacher called me out on it. I was in a grade 4/5 split class and wanted to impress the older kids, and me, having my undershirt rolled up as per usual, caused my teacher to call me out in front of my whole class. "What on earth is in your shirt?" I sheepishly muttered some sort of excuse, and was sent to the washroom to straighten myself out and give myself a pep talk. I hit puberty shortly after turning 11, and dealing with all sorts of discomfort and back problems at 20 years old, I take back all of those wishes. Boobs are the worst, unless they are on other people. It was my grandma's birthday, and I was about 6 years old, so we had a big party at our house. Lots and lots of guests and of course a lot of new faces. Being a stupid, chubby but completely crazy kid, I thought I would perform an act of dancing for the audience. Unfortunately for everyone in the building, the night before I've spent more than 3 hours coming up with the dance moves, watching TV in order to find something extraordinary astonishing. And I did. It was my time to shine. So in a high-pitched voice I declared that I'm going to perform a happy birthday dance. It would be not that bad, but just before going on the stage I made a little wee-wee in my boxers. So I ripped them of my clumsy body, run out naked on the stage in front of more than 20 people, and all I do is I start to jiggle my pecker and sing happy birthday. Come and dance with me. Happy birthday grandma. At the grand old age of 2 my twin and I got up in the middle of the night, got out steak knives and grated cheese into the heat vent. It is a miracle we weren't hurt. My dad did his best to clean out the ductwork, but he said the smell was ingrained into our heating system. Not exactly embarrassing, but definitely odd. We also had our own language until we were about 4 years old. One time when I was eating with my family at the age of 10, I was sucking the juices out of a good breakfast sausage. Then when they asked me what I was doing, I yelled I am just sucking on my sausage. They still frick with me to this day. NBD, Mom, this is some prime meat here. When I was a youngin I stayed with my grandma quite often and she would help me get ready for school. Her bathroom shower had a big opaque glass door and when it would get foggy I would draw smiley faces with the tip of my willy. I thought I was sneaky until one day she called out, "Are you ready to get out or are you still drawing with your wee wee?" I was mortified. To top it off she told the rest of my family. Here I am 20 years later and my brothers still call me Picasso, pun from Picasso, every family gathering. Digging in the sandbox in my backyard as a child I thought I found dinosaur fossils. I proudly showed my parents my discovery, but what I thought was rare dinosaur fossils was just old dried up cat crap. My older brother and sister were in school, and my mother was hosting a school council meeting at our house. My mother didn't particularly like the principal of the school, and nobody else really did either, but my mother made the mistake of letting us know how she felt about the principal in conversations with my father. She was a rather large woman, and ironically, so is my mother. The principal was particularly large, though. Anyway, I get to see the principal for the first time when she walks in our front door. You're right, Mom, she is fat. Holy cow, hide the Teddy Grahams. And then I grabbed the cookies from the drawer, ran upstairs, and hid them in my room. It's still a story that's told pretty much every year, and it brings us to tears laughing about it. My poor mother said she's never felt so awkward in her life. The principal had transferred a couple years later, which coincided with the time I started school there. Thank goodness. With lines like "Hide the Teddy Grahams, you should have been a comedian." I pooped in a public pool. I was about 4 and I had been having problems going number 2 and I guess the nice cool water got things moving. I tried to keep it in but every time I started walking out of the pool it would prairie dog. I yelled for my dad but he was too late. I don't remember the incident very well but my dad likes to say that it was like that scene from the movie Jaws where they spot a shark in the water and everyone starts screaming and running for their lives. But instead of a shark it was my poop. Some neighbor kids were picking on me. They locked me in the abandoned house next door to me. When I got out, I was so mad that the only thing I could think of was taking my pants off to scare them. It worked. I have no idea why I did that. I still cringe. I would sing like an opera singer. I'd also say things from advertisements all the time, and there were a series of genital herpes ads that were on quite often, which led to me screaming genital herpes in public, much to the embarrassment of my parents. I was shopping in Gap with my mom. I don't remember doing this, but she won't let me live it down. When I was young I used to call khakis packies. So shopping in Gap in an immigrant heavy part of the city, I shouted, "Hey mom, look at all the packies," in a Gap filled with Middle Eastern men and women. I called insulated underwear inflated underwear. On my first day of kindergarten, I ran up to the wrong man thinking he was my dad. His back was to me, and I clung to his leg until my mom came and pulled me off, explaining that was not, in fact, my father. I cried so much from embarrassment. I imagine anyway, she had to take me home. Not an overreactor at all. First day of kindergarten in America. Couldn't speak a lick of English. I farted really loudly. Everyone became my friend afterwards. Me, 5 years old, my brother and my cousin at the living room watching some movie that had boobs in it, and suddenly I say I don't know why but my pee-pee gets hard when I see boobies. Dear God, I hope they don't remember it. My friend 6-year-old announced that he liked Hannah Montana because she made his pee-pee tickle. Poor kid is 13 now and I still make jokes about it to his mom. I love reading and really got into it around 7 or 8 years of age. Around this time, I was reading a book about Jackie Robinson. This book contained a word I had never read before, so I asked my mom what it meant. She was very matter of fact about it and told me it was a very rude word and that I should never ever use it under any circumstances. She gave me no context about the word, and I didn't really piece it together from the biography I was reading, so I filed it away under curse words and other things that get you in trouble when you say them. Fast forward a few weeks, and I am at tennis camp in the summer in the city. Both of my parents worked, and this was at a public park and attended by a good 100 kids. It is hot as can be. I'm a bit overweight. I'm strong, but not coordinated. We run a bunch of sprints, hit tennis balls, and finally play king of the court. A tennis camp game with winner stays rules. I actually win a game and get to be king, but I'm soon unseated. It's about 1,300 degrees. I'm sweaty as all can be, and when I lose, the kid who won made some crack about me. At this point, I get angry and start yelling at the kid, and for some reason, one of the counselors decides to side with my opponent, making me mad. I, being a bit of a whiner at the time, pitch a crap fit, to which the counselor, a teenager, maybe, responds by putting an L on her head and saying to me, "L is for loser." I respond by drawing an N on my head and basically shouting N is for, word used against Jackie Robinson, at a counselor, a young, female counselor, a young, black, female counselor. Here in the story, silence falls at the speed of sound, and everyone is staring. I don't get why it's so bad, but understand that I have done something horrible. The entire camp is paused now. We are all gathered to hear a lecture from the camp director, who thinks I'm in the YKKK at this point, about tolerance. I really don't get exactly what I did until my mom comes to get me, and tearfully apologizes to all involved, no doubt wondering how she raised such a terrible monster. And this is why parents need to give context to bad words. I was 9 or so when I did this. I honestly don't remember it because I didn't think it was a big deal, but my dad has told me about it dozens of times over the years. More embarrassing for him than me. When I was a kid, my dad ran a very cool classical Indian music organization in Canada. We were really lucky to have incredibly renowned artists come to our city and often come to people's houses for receptions. One time this famous woman came to town and we were having a post-concert reception at someone's house. She was really legit. Very well respected name. The kind of artist that people would bow to and touch her feet before talking to her. At some point during the reception my dad yelled at me about something. No idea what. Maybe I was being a little crap or maybe he was just being grumpy. Regardless, I was upset at him after that. So when the artist stood up in front of everyone to speak and say thank you, apparently I looked directly at my dad and let out a several seconds long toot. The kind that goes pee-wee up in a high pitch. I guess the room fell completely silent until she stumbled back into it, and he stared daggers at me for her entire speech while I had a crap-eating grin knowing he couldn't do anything in front of anyone. He says he's never been more embarrassed in his life. Bonus: the artist died a few years later, but every time he tells me this story, and I usually can't breathe because I'm laughing so hard, he gently insinuates that it's my fault she died. You have been visited by the safety doggo. Subscribe and you will be safe from all danger for the next 24 hours. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.